Hi folks, Lee here again. Welcome to Ninja Guitar. I haven't done one of these for quite a while now. Just been busy doing other kinds of videos I suppose, but I thought it was about time that I made another tuition video. And this has been something I've been wanting to do for a while on minor scale, so hopefully this will be a useful lesson to anybody that's been interested in some of the theoretical lessons that I did last year. And it's kind of like the next, not necessarily the next stage on, but it's just an add-on to all of that. So if you haven't checked those out already, I suggest you do, because some of the concepts that I want to talk about today are based around major scale theory. So if you don't know anything about the major scale, then you might struggle to kind of keep up with what I'm talking about here. You don't need to have an in-depth knowledge, and I'll try to cover as many bases as I possibly can as we go through the lesson, but the essence of it is capturing, you know, some knowledge around the major scale and how that fits together. But as a recap, here is what I'm talking about. So if we were to take the major scale, and we will do it in C as we always do because there are no sharps and flats, let's put it up on the screen now. So C major are the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So there's C major, and the distance between each note in the scale is set either as a tone or a semitone. So let's have a look at those. It should be a pattern of tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And that is actually set in stone. That is the major scale. So the distance between each note has a massive impact on the sound of the interval, particularly between the first note of the scale, so in this case C, and the third note, in this case E. And C and E together sound like this. Very happy. Because they're a major third apart. If I was to flatten that E and make it a D sharp or an E flat, you end up with this. So from happy to sad. So that interval would be a minor. And you can see that actually in the next note along. So if you take D and you look at its third, then you can see that that is a tone and a semitone away, a minor third. And that's why when we build the chords, we get major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and then diminished finally. So that is how the major scale is constructed, and that's how it's harmonized. And so that's where we're at with it. If you can grasp that, even in a basic form, you should be okay to move on forwards and have an understanding of minor scales and where they come from. So the first minor scale I want to talk about a little bit and play is the natural minor, sometimes referred to as pure minor, and it's actually called Aeolian as well. It's the sixth mode of the major scale. So going back to major scale again, the sixth mode of the major scale, in this case starting on the sixth note of C major, is A. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that would be the sixth mode of that particular major scale. Now if we put A at the beginning of that pattern, so we now have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the chords obviously move along with them. That is the Aeolian mode, and that's also called natural minor, and it's the relative minor to C major. So that's where the term relative minor comes from. So C major and A minor as chords and as scales, natural and major, are relative to each other. So that's the first thing to remember. Natural minor is the same as the Aeolian mode, the sixth mode of major scale. And also, if you hear the term pure minor, that's the same thing. So there's kind of three weird names, if you like, rolled into one. So that looks like this on the guitar. So there's 2 octaves of natural minor. And the way to find it on the guitar, if you've been learning your major scale pattern, maybe the first octave, is to go back 3 steps, as you would do from C anyway, C, B, A, and then start from there. So any time you're in a particular key, so let's say you're in the key of G major, its relative minor is 3 frets away. And starting on that pattern is where you would play the pattern I just had on the screen. So in my opinion, the easiest way to learn the natural minor scale is actually just to get on with learning the major scale patterns across the whole fretboard, because effectively it depends on the chord that's sitting underneath what you're playing. So you could be playing over this chord and it's going to sound like C major. And if I play this chord and you play the same thing, it's going to sound like A minor, because you're playing the same scale. There aren't any differences to it, it's just that the kind of tonal balance has shifted to that particular chord, so it lends your ear to hear the tonalities different against that chord. So I would say learn, from a practical perspective, just learn the major scale across the entire breadth of the first 12 frets, so that you can move that pattern round at will, and then you will effectively have just learnt all the modes as well, and including that will be natural minor. So that's your first thing to do if you haven't done it already. So while we're on the subject of the major scale and its modes, if we look at the major scale, how it's constructed, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and we've been looking at the sixth part, haven't we, the sixth mode if you like, the sixth chord, which in this case is A minor if we're looking at C major. So that's Aeolian, but what about the other minor chords? Surely if they're built from those intervals as well, then we'd have a minor scale from that point forwards, wouldn't we? Which is exactly what it is. We have the modes of Ionian, which is a major, it is the major scale, it's the first mode, and it's major sounding, of course. And then the next mode starts on a minor chord, doesn't it? It's got that minor interval, so therefore the Dorian mode, which is the second mode, is going to be a minor scale. So looking at Dorian, if we now rearrange all of our notes of C major, so D's at the beginning, and now we've got the second mode of C major, D Dorian, and that's over a minor chord, D minor, or D minor 7. Whenever you play the scale of C major, you are now playing D Dorian if underneath it someone is strumming that D minor 7. So D Dorian, or Dorian, is a fantastic scale to be used across so many different genres of music. I use it in blues, jazz a lot, funk, rock and metal. It's such a great mode. You can get so much leverage out of it, and there's so many great tonalities and intervals in it. It's kind of got that funky kind of smoky blues vibe to it without being straight kind of blues scale. It's just got that. So like I said to you before, if you've learnt the major scale, then you effectively know this mode already. It's just about beginning to hear it, and the way you're going to hear that is to take the second chord of a major scale, and it's always going to be minor in the particular key that you're in, and then play its relative major scale over the top, and you'll start to hear how those intervals sit with each other. Okay, so we're on the subject of major scale harmony. The next mode along, in fact it is the next note, isn't it, is also a minor, and therefore it's going to be a minor scale. And this one in particular is very interesting. It's called Phrygian, and it has if someone said to me when I was like 16, 17, play me some kind of Spanishy flamenco sound, I would have just played the Phrygian mode, because it's just got that vibe to it. If we take, let's have a look at where we're at on E Phrygian. So we've got C major, we've got D Dorian, and we've got E Phrygian. It sounds a bit like this. So that's all I was doing there, was playing from the third degree of the C major scale and going round that pattern back to the third degree, giving you the third mode. So it's that, yeah, Phrygian's got that real kind of flamenco-y, Spanishy vibe to it, which is probably not correct at all, but it's always felt that way to me. But it's something you should definitely explore. So within the major scale, you've got 3 minor scales for you to try out before you even begin to alter any of the notes to harmonic minor and melodic minor. So check those out first.